So I'm in my new house now, and everything is still very new to me here, so the audio still might be a bit rough, but LEGO decided to drop a brand new LEGO set, and originally I wasn't going to make a video on it, but then I got to thinking, hey, this could actually be the start of something great. And of course I'm talking about the Thor's Hammer. Now this Thor's Hammer is in the same sort of range as something like the Infinity Gauntlet or the helmet line, just because of the plaque that's used, but taking a closer look at this hammer actually goes to show that it's fairly big. Like, really big. Almost so big that I expect hipster Thor here to actually go ahead and swing it round. And this got me thinking for the potential future of LEGO Marvel sets and where they could potentially be taking the theme, and that's something I think that's worth making a video on.
Like that, the whole world is going crazy. All the stuff we saw is spreading.
Now a little bit of background on this Thor's Hammer. LEGO did originally say that they weren't going to consider doing something like this. They categorized it in the same sort of vein as something like a buildable Gryffindor sword, I guess putting it in a kind of buildable weapon category, and I think this is a decision that's overall good for LEGO. I wouldn't want to see them building something like a Star-Lord's gun or anything along those sort of lines. But I do like the fact that they have dabbled in building things like the Infinity Gauntlet and now this Thor's Hammer. I think the Infinity Gauntlet is one of the best looking Marvel sets that have come out in recent years, and I'm excited that this Thor's Hammer seems to be continuing that trend. Now I want to talk a little bit about the hammer before I get into the subject of today's video. I really do like the hammer, but I do feel it definitely falls into the category of it's a great set, but it definitely could be better. And although I actually like this set, so I don't want to rip it to shreds, I know some people have a lot of issues with this hammer, and I must admit that they're fair criticisms to make about this LEGO set. It does seem more on the expensive side, being in the UK £105 and only consisting of 979 pieces, when things like the Bellatar, which is a similarly priced Marvel set with the similar licensing fees, coming in at 1,000 extra pieces on this Thor's Hammer for only an extra £30. However, I do want to throw out there that I think this hammer is going to weigh a lot more than something like the Bellatar, considering that I think the pieces on this Thor's Hammer are considerably larger than something like the pieces on the Bellatar, which include a lot more smaller pieces. Another very fair, valid criticism that I've seen about this set is the minifigure only consisting of a unique torso print, and that's about it. Now, if I'm honest, I'm actually happy to get a minifigure in the first place. I'm very happy that they're including one in a set which I didn't feel warranted something like a minifigure, but it does go back to the same argument I had with something like the R2-D2 set that came out in 2021, where I feel like if you're going to include a minifigure in a set like this, and it's a single minifigure, it should be the best minifigure that you can possibly get out of a set like this, making the set 100% more desirable because of the unique figure. And LEGO seems to have kinda got this right. The version of Thor we get in this Mjolnir set is one we've never seen before, however it does reuse a face print, and once again, unfortunately, classic Marvel lacks leg printing, and if I'm honest, this version of Thor would have been very good to have some arm printing, considering it's the plated armor that we see on his arms at the end of the film. But once again, playing devil's advocate, I feel like we didn't even need to get a minifigure in the first place, so the fact that we get one at all in this set in my mind is a plus. Besides, I'm sure that there's pieces that you can use to try and make this Thor minifigure way more accurate, and maybe it's something that we can dabble into in the future when I actually pick up this set. But I'm going to save the rest of my criticisms I have about this set for when I have the set in hand. I'm sure you guys will repeat a lot of the things that I'm going to say in that video in the comment section of this video, giving me your opinions on that set in the first place. But what I want to talk about is the main point of this video, which I believe is the future of the Marvel theme. Not only do I think that this Thor's Hammer opens the door for so many possibilities, but I think if it sells well enough, it could change the theme entirely. One very big criticism I've seen, at least getting into the whole Marvel side of LEGO, is that when it comes to things like the Infinity Saga or something like Marvel in general, they tend to either go down the minifigs route or the mech route. And although yes, I do find mechs very cool, and I do think the MCU is very, very technology oriented, which if you ask me gives some very fair justification for things like the mechs, but I'll give things like Ironmonger and Hulkbusters a pass, but things like the Wolverine mech I think is just stepping too far out there. But something like this Thor's Hammer could be a real step in the right direction for making some decent Marvel display sets at a cheaper price point. Imagine if they made something like this Thor's Hammer, but instead of the Thor's Hammer, it'd be something from Doctor Strange, something like the Eye of Agamotto. I think this as a LEGO set on a nice display stand could be easily something between the £30 to £60 mark, and be completely in scale with something like the Thor's Hammer, which looks to be almost one-to-one. I could see LEGO introducing some form of new rope piece as the necklace to make this eye wearable. I see it being mostly built of metallic pieces, similar to the Infinity Gauntlet, so you could display the two next to each other and then be in the same scale. This would also allow something like the Heart of Tony Stark or something like just a regular arc reactor, and create these iconic items that these characters wield or possess. And even if you just did one or two, maybe a wave, you would automatically get way more variation in terms of your sets because you'd be creating something that's completely unique. And even if you did something like the Eye of Agamotto and it came with things like the Time Stone and you started doing other Infinity Stone housings like the Tesseract, or dare I even say something like Loki's Scepter, it opens the door for potentially something like a UCS style Nano Gauntlet, which is once again a thing that people are asking for because the Infinity Gauntlet was so damn popular. But I think doing it in this style would make the set significantly bigger, and it would also interact with your other sets, almost doing something like the Harry Potter Icon set, but as individual sets that you can build up and collect your favorite superhero stuff. Say you only want to collect your favorite superhero stuff like web shooters, Eye of Agamotto, Thor's Hammer, and you want to skip something like the Infinity Gauntlet or the Nano Gauntlet, depending on what they bring out. Not only doing it like that could make it significantly less expensive because you're only buying what you want. Of course, completionists are going to get it all, but it also tailors towards space. Something like the Hogwarts Icons is a massive set, and not everybody has all that space. So being able to just get the things that you want to get, and most of these things are quite small in comparison, but if you ask me, these smaller items are just as significant as something like the Thor's Hammer. I would love to have a set of Spider-Man web shooters, especially the Homecoming ones, which look big and bulky, as a LEGO set. And I know other people would love to have something like an Eye of Agamotto or an arc reactor. All three sets which I think would be significantly less than something like this Thor's Hammer at a £100 price tag. But all four sets in this category I think would look amazing next to each other in an Icons fashion. If you ask me, this is a fantastic concept on where to take the Marvel theme, giving us a lot more variation in terms of sets and giving us really iconic memorabilia from these types of films. And doing these types of sets in individual sets allows for future-proofing, so if something like Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings comes out, we can get something like the 10 Rings as one LEGO set, all to go towards our Icons set that we eventually build up and build up and build up till we have one really fantastic display piece. And honestly, what I hope LEGO have in mind for the future, considering we're getting this Thor's Hammer. But what do you guys think of this idea? Do you think that LEGO have this in mind? Is it all in the cards already? Or is this just a one-off LEGO set that I'm clearly looking way too much into? Let me know in the comment section below. If you want to see my opinions on something like the headline already, you can click this video on screen now, which will take you to one of my recent videos where I take a look at the headline and what we could improve on them, and also take a look at some damn cool cases.